Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs we'll be analyzing today. Hope you guys did enjoy your Christmas yesterday, spent time with your family, took some time to rest, recharge. But next week we do have a full trading week for you guys, so I've analyzed the market. Remember, do stay to the end. I've gone through each pair, analyzing what happened this week and potentially what can happen next week as well. But with all that said, guys, let's get straight into it. Okay, so first up we've got Euro USD. So for this pair, pretty much still consolidating, as you can see. Still struggling to make our mind up if we want to reverse or continue. Last week I was expecting price to continue to the downside back into these lows. However, we snapped back into the range, and I did say last week, if we do snap back in, look for the retest just to continue another push to the upside, just to fill that range again, because price most likely will continue to consolidate. So you can see here we have a really strong support here at 1.12600, or I should say key support at 1.12600. You can see I had a nice false break there, respected it over there, came back last week, had that break, turned out to be false, price came back up, retested, and saw some upside. So coming into this week, looking what the DXY is doing, some other USD pairs doing, that reversal could be on the card side. I'm anticipating price breaking out of this consolidation and moving into this area here eventually. Nice support, time resistance, never got the retest when we broke through at 1.15300. So I can see price revisiting those areas up there when we do get that reversal. I don't expect it to happen next week, but over the next few days, next few weeks, I do think we can have that reversal. So mainly looking at buys, anticipating the reversal to happen. Again, not going to just be looking to buy, hold on to that position, looking for the reversal and being too greedy. We'll just be looking for a push into the highs of the range up here, and then potentially if we do snap back, can look to add to the position potentially. So yeah, coming into the week, we'll be looking at these two areas mainly for buys for Euro USD. We potentially could come into these areas here, but I think if we do, potentially we could actually be rolling over to those lows. So I'm mainly looking at these two areas here at 1.13 and 1.12600 to hold, to look for buys coming into next week for Euro USD. So that is the plan. Looking for just a push into these highs here at 1.13600. Obviously, potentially we could break out of this, and if we do, potentially could hold onto the position, or exit and then look for a break and retest of that level, for the buys. So it depends how you want to trade it, but coming into the week, just looking for prices to swing to the upside again and fill that range, even into this level at 1.13 or at this level at 1.12600, and looking for the buyers back into 1.13600 for next week. Okay, so next up we've got USD JPY. So for this pair, we did see a nice move to the upside this week, which was expected. We finished the week around here on that bullish candle, and I was anticipating another move to the upside. Price was holding firmly with this support here, respecting that previous low, so we were anticipating price just to push to the upside. I said look for around 114,500, where potentially the market could come back down again, and right now we're just trading along that area at 114,500. So we could see some downside coming into next week. We do have this area which potentially could be a head and shoulder pattern, potentially happening. We've got the left shoulder here, the head, which gave us this massive sell-off, and we're coming back into that previous shoulder resistance, the left shoulder forming potentially the right shoulder for price to sell off, but we are still respecting that neckline. So for the head and shoulder pattern to actually come into play, we obviously need price to snap through that neckline there. So right now it's all anticipation, and potentially could stay bullish and climb back to those highs, so do keep that in mind. In fact, if we do break through this level here, I would expect price to come back into this area there, and potentially some higher highs, because the overall trend on the higher time frames, daily, weekly, monthly, with that momentum is still with the bulls. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do creep up to those highs, but if we do respect this, then we could see some downside. If I drop to the 4H, we do have a little bit of a channel forming. If we get that highs connected, as well as these lows, you can see price is moving a little bit of a channel. We've got the highs and the lows there connected, and we're coming to the highs of the channel as well with that resistance at 114,500. So potentially we could see a bit of a dive for USD to start the week off, but if price does want to stay bullish for the higher time frames, we could see another bounce and price continue to the upside. So coming into the week, the plan is to be looking for sells here, because we're coming to that shoulder, that resistance there, potentially that right shoulder, and we're coming to the highs of that ascending channel. So looking for sells at this area here, looking for a push into this channel, and if the head and shoulder does form, we should see a snap of that, and we can look to hold in that position further into the lows down there. But just will be looking for a push into the trend line for the week, and I'll look for buys if we do break out of this channel, break out of that resistance, and then we could see price just fill that range to the upside to those highs at 115,500. So get above that level, retest, continue that bullish momentum. I'll look for buys at 114,500 just to fill that gap to the upside. If not, and we can respect that area as resistance, we've got some nice confidence in that area, we can roll over and maybe even further. So that's the plan for the week. Sells if we hold, if we break through and retest, we'll look for buys at 114,500. But yeah, if we do get those sells, we'll be looking for the bottom of the channel around the 113,600 mark. But if we do break to the upside, we'll be looking for 114,500 for next week. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to USD CAD. So I was expecting more upside this week for this pair. We did take out this wick here, which we were expecting. Like I said, potentially we could push into 1.3 before we do see some downside. However, price failed to push further. And then the wick at 1.29496, and we failed to push through to 1.3 before we did collapse. So we did see that move happen, but it happened slightly earlier than expected. But we are looking a little bit bearish. Here's a major level of resistance, this 1.29, 1.3 area. So we could actually see price take a bigger fall to the downside for USD CAD, and that potentially could happen. So coming into next week, I will be looking to see if we can get some nice sells in for price to move further to the downside. Dropping onto the 4H, you can still see we're putting those higher highs and higher lows in. So higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, potentially even a higher low for price to continue. I want to see price give me another major lower high before I do look to short the market, because you can still see the bullish structure is there. So looking for one more push to the upside for USD CAD to form me a lower high, and then we can potentially see price roll over. And I will be looking to target this low here. This support here, which still has not been revisited yet, and this low here as well. So I don't think all these levels will be hit next week, but if we do form that lower high, I do think the market will start hitting those levels. So we'll be looking for one more push to the upside. Again, not really interested in the buys for USD CAD because we're coming to a higher time frame key area of resistance supply. So I do think if you look for buys, it has to be in the intraday level. Of course, I could be wrong, but I do think they'll be short-lived and price will probably roll over. I'm looking at this area here. Nice support, will be time resistance there. Also supply as well. Big push to the downside from that area. So looking for one more push to the upside for USD CAD, form a lower high, and that will be looking for. And then I'll be looking for my entries to take this lower. Again, pushing into these lows here. But I think just for the next week, we'll be looking for a push into this level here. For USD CAD. So looking for one more push to the upside, lower high for maybe around the 1.29 level, nice psychological level as well. And then yeah, looking to set it down to these levels, but just for next week, we'll look to target 1.27644.
Sorry to interrupt the video, guys, but if you are enjoying the content and you find it useful, make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below, and also make sure you drop a like as well. It really does help the channel out. But anyway, back to the video.
Okay, so now I'm going to move on to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, we did see a nice move to the downside this week. Again, we were looking for a break of this key level of support, which was holding price bullish. We were looking for that break here. We had a bit of a minor retest there quite early on Thursday, I believe. And then yeah, we did see a really nice move to the downside there. So I'm looking for price to come back and revisit this area for Euro Pound for a bigger sell-off. I do think we can come back into these lows and actually see some new lows here for Euro Pound. I do think we can see a move all the way back down into this area here of support, around the 0.83, 0.83500 area where all these wicks are collecting. So I do think Euro Pound is slowly making its way down to this area here, and potentially could be seeing that drop over the next coming weeks. So I do think there's still more downside for Euro Pound. I do think those lows which are highlighted there on the daily will be taken out. Like I said, 0.83500, 0.83 could be the areas in Euro Pound that's the target before maybe this bearish trend starts to reverse. So looking at some retracement for Euro Pound, hopefully at the start of the week, come back and retest this area. That'll be a really nice entry, and we can look to sell it back down into those lows, and potentially even further, you know, if you're really looking to push the trade. So looking for price to see if we can come back up into these areas around the 0.84870 area, and then we'll look to sell it back down. Risk to reward is looking very healthy there as well. If you can get a nice entry maybe on the hourly time frame for that one. So yeah, Euro Pound bearish price for this one, waiting for some retracement. Hopefully you can come back, retest this major level of support, now will be term resistance, and looking for a push back down to those lows at 0.83840. Okay, so up next we've got AUD USD. So for this pair, I'm expecting price to roll over, just continue this bearish trend here, back down to those lows. However, we failed to take out this key low here. I said if we can break through this, nice break and retest would be good, back down to these lows. And we also failed to put in that head and shoulders pattern there as well. Price just broke straight. Okay, so next up we've got AUD USD. So for this pair, I was coming into the week with a bearish bias, looking for price to come back down to these lows here at 0.7. However, price failed to do both of our bearish setups, so it didn't really get an entry anyway. We were looking for price to break through this low here, looking for the break and retest to ride it into those lows. We never happened. We saw a bounce, price gain some bullish momentum, and then we were also looking for that potential head and shoulders pattern here as well. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and price just broke straight through that as well. So price can give us a bearish setup, and you can see it's looking quite bullish right now. And I do think price will probably see some more upside coming into next week. First, however, I do want to see some retracement, but I'm looking for price to come into 0.73 up there, next key psychological level, into that support, and just underneath it. So looking for some continuation to the upside for AUD/USD. We do have some nice resistance here on the daily, hoping price can come back for us, you know, retrace, form a higher low, and we can see some nice continuations into that level there. Also potentially could have a trend line confluence as well. If you connect this low here and that low there as well, potentially could see price meet that trend line. So looking for price to basically come back and retest this. You can see we broke through very aggressively, so I want to see price come back, retrace for us, form another higher low, and we can push that into that level up there just underneath 0.73. so 0.72860 will be a nice trade there. So bullish buyers coming into the week for AUD/USD, looking for a break and retest at 0.71800. Nice trend line confluence potentially. We don't have to test the trend line, but if we do, that could be a nice confluence there for us. But yeah, looking for a retest of this level and a push back up into that level up there at 0.72860 for next week. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD, as you can see, nice move to the upside this week, which was expected. We had that weekly false break a couple of weeks ago, so we're expecting to see some bullish momentum to the upside there. As you can see, nice false break of that level. We pulled back, closed above, so we were expecting a push to the upside the next following weeks, and we have seen that push. Dropping back down to the daily time frame, you can see price is really struggling to break through this previous lower high here on the left, putting all those wicks in. So I do think price will probably see some downside for NZD CAD before we do continue with that bullish push. So coming into the week, looking for sells for NZD CAD back down into 0.86400, which is that higher time frame support. So if we continue to hold this level of resistance coming into next week Monday, we'll be looking for sales to start the week off back into 0.86400. Then if we can hold this as support, 0.86400, we'll be looking for longs, looking for that head and shoulder pattern potentially to form there. Obviously have to wait for our confirmations, everything, for a push back up into this level and then potentially higher if we can snap the neckline. But you can see potentially a head and shoulder pattern forming there. with the left shoulder, potentially looking for that head and for the reversal. So that's the plan for next week. Looking for sales to start off at 0.87400 for push back down to 0.86400, and then potentially the reversal if we can hold it as support. Okay, so up next we've got pound NZD. So pound NZD is still holding onto that level of resistance that we've been drawing for the past couple of weeks now. As you can see, nice support there, resistance, big move to the upside, big move back down. And so far we're still putting numerous wicks into this level, failing to break above it, but also failing to break away as well. We do have this trend line here. If I connect these lows here, on the daily chart, that price is squeezing between. So we've got this trend line and we've got this key level of resistance just below 1.97. That price is finding a hard time to break either to the upside or to the downside. So if we can actually snap to the upside, so that means the level gives way, trend line holds, we'll be looking for a push into the resistance up here at, well, just underneath that too. So really nice psychological level up there. I do think price can push into there, but we do need to break above this level. And then we can look for longs for a push to the upside. If this level ends up holding and price breaks through the trend line and we end up falling over, I do expect to see a push into this support down here, just above 1.93, so 1.93 450. So I think we can roll over or see that break to the upside. Just depends what price wants to do. You can see in the 4 hour squeezing in between, so it's difficult to trade in this sort of area here. I wouldn't recommend trading. It's just too choppy, too corrective, too indecisive of where potential price could go. So I want to see a clean break of this trend line, price put a lower high in, and then we can trade it back down into those lows potentially. Again, don't have to target these lows all the way down here. There is support and resistance here on the left. You can look at the target. Don't have to look for the full move. It's about 200 pips to the downside ish for that move. So you can look to target levels on the left here. Nice support here. You can look to target, but I do think price will come down into 1.93500 and see that full swing. But if we do break to the upside, we'll be looking for that retest. Again, trend line, expecting that to hold and looking for a push into that level up there. So it just depends, you know, which one gives way, which one holds for next week. So far, it's hard to tell. So I'm going to be a bit on the sidelines for pound NZD, wait for pound NZD to make the first move, and then we look to trade in that direction, either to the upside on the break and retest, or break through the trend line, and we'll be looking for sales back down into those lows. Okay, so next up we've got CAD JPY. So CAD JPY coming to the week was bearish, looking for price to roll over and see some new lows. And we just about saw that. You can see here with my crosshair how there's lows there, and price came and took those out there with that wick. However, it was short-lived. Price did not, you know, continue that break, found support, formed that bullish engulfing on the daily, and we did see some upside. So CAD JPY might be finding a bit of a bottom here for some more upside. Looking on the higher time frames like the weekly, we do have this resistance here, now turn support, which could, you know, project price to the upside, kind of like a big area of demand on the weekly. We are consolidating the weekly, so if we can break out that to the upside, then price could actually be looking to revisit those highs up there. So we could actually see a lot more upside for CAD JPY. You can see the market is still kind of bearish on the daily, so still we'll be waiting for that higher low to form for price to see some upside. So dropping down onto the lower time frames into the 4H and just move that out of the way. You can see price is coming into a key level of resistance here, having a hard time to break through this at 89,400. So there could be some temporary sells to the downside if the market continues to reject this coming into next week. You can look for some sells to the downside, but I do think they'll be short-lived. Looking for price to go and find that higher low here around the 88,200 mark, and then we'll be looking for long opportunities for that higher low to push back up into that resistance firstly, but if we can break through that into those highs there on the left at 90,200, so I do think we can see that push on the weekly time frame. So looking to anticipate that move from the lower time frames, you know, to be in sync with the higher time frame. So I'm looking for a push to the downside for CAD JPY. Like I said, some sales could be good to start the week off if we continue to reject it, but I will be looking for the bigger push, which I believe will be to the upside for CAD JPY. I just want to see that higher low form first, and I'm anticipating potentially could be forming in this area here at 88,200. So that's the plan for the week. Initially sells, but then we'll be finding support hopefully, and we can look to take this one higher. Okay, so now I'm going to take a look at pound USD. So pound USD, big move to the upside this week. Coming into the week, I was bearish, looking for price to sell off back down into those lows at just underneath 1.32, which we did see. However, it was quite early on, so I wasn't able to take advantage of that opportunity. Pretty much the market opened up and just fell to the downside. I was looking for a bit of retracement first and then sell it back down, but the market just made the move anyway. We then rejected this area 1.32 and saw a massive move to the upside there. So pound USD looking quite bullish. I think this could be the bottom, and pound USD could be now seeing a lot more upside in the next few days, next few weeks. So my next target for this one is 1.35 up there, which is that price swing high. Gave us this nice move. I do think price will probably move back up into that high there. So pound USD for me, I'm looking for some retracement for this one. We've seen a nice bullish rally over the past couple of days now. So I'm looking at price, finding a little bit of support now. Taking a breather, and then we're going to see a continuation back up to 1.35. So my first area of interest is this area here, 1.33600. Nice support, resistance there. So if you can come back, respect this area, I will be looking for buys to take that forward. If not, I will be looking at this area here as well at 1.32800. If we have a deeper retracement, we'll still be looking for buys. But first target for this one will be that resistance. Then if we can break back again above this, then I'll look for 1.35 up there. So it just depends where the market finds support, but that's a very strong push. Now looking for the retracement for the continuation. So if we do pull back into this area, we'll be looking for push back into 1.33600. If we can break through that, then we can push it a lot further. If not, we just respect this support, which is still will be a good opportunity. We'll be looking for buys into 1.35 up there. So pound USD, I'm bullish, not interested in the sales this week. Looking for a bounce from 1.33600 back up to 1.35, or we'll be looking at buys from 1.32783 down there. Okay, so now we'll take a look at pound CAD. So pound CAD, we did see some upside this week, which was expected again. We were trading along this level here at 1.70750. I said I do think price will probably break through this level, and we'll see a push into 1.72. And you can see the wicks down the daily. We did come into that 1.72 psychological level. So nice push to the upside there for pound CAD. I can see price now, because it's holding above, go potentially further into support up here, now turn resistance at 1.72750. We never came back to retest this area. We broke through very aggressively, and we never revisited that area. So I do think we can see a push into that level, but first we'll be looking for the break and retest of this key level here, which just broke this week. Looking for price to come back into here and see that move up. You can see price is struggling to push high off those wicks, so we could see price roll over, find some support, and then see some upside. You can see we are moving quite correctly there as well, having a tough time to climb higher. So want to see pound CAD fall over to the downside, back into that key daily area, 1.70700. We'll be looking for buys in this area, and then simply looking to continue this push, the trend to the upside into 1.72750 up there. So that's the plan for the week. Looking for some retracement back into that key daily area, and then looking for a push into that level of resistance up there for next week. Okay, so now we'll move on to pound JPY. So pound JPY, big push to the upside this week. I was looking for price to roll over with this nice rejection the previous week. However, we found support here, failed to break through this, formed a higher low, and price pushed to the upside very aggressively. So I think pound JPY overall is just rejecting this key level of support in the market. You can see how many times we rejected this area, and it is still keeping the market, with these enormous big bullish moves to the upside. So I do think pound JPY can see some more upside coming to the highs up here at 154,500. But first, want to see some retracement coming back into some areas of resistance, some areas of supply there, where we could see some sellers stepping into the market. So I do want to see some downside for pound JPY, and then we'll be looking to take price higher. We do have, let's go back to the daily 1 second. We do obviously have this resistance here on the daily time frame, our last down move before we had this big push. So we'll be looking to see if pound JPY can retrace into this level, and then we'll be looking for buys from that, which does line up with this kind of area of demand there. So I want to see price retrace for us back down to 151,500. We'll be looking for a higher low and a push to the upside. Do be wary that we might not see that full push. We might come into this level here. Nice resistance gave us that sell off to the downside. Also briefly acted the resistance there as well. We might only see a brief retracement to the downside. We might not come all the way, and price might push on further. So two areas we'll be looking at buys next week for pound JPY. 151,500 will be obviously the better area, better risk to reward, bigger move, but price might not retrace that far. It might be still a little bit too bullish for that. So we'll be looking at this resistance here taking across as support. If we can hold that, put some nice rejection into that, we'll be looking for buys to take it back up into that 154,500 area. So looking for buys next week for pound JPY. Not interested in any sells really. Only looking for buys, waiting for that retracement to be over, either at this level at 152,500 or 151,500, and then we'll be looking at buys to take it further to the upside. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to gold. So gold, I was looking for price to continue to roll over this week. Price is still trapped in this range here, 1810, and this support here at 1768. So I was looking for gold to come back down into these lows. However, we failed to see that move happen. We did see a brief downside move happen from that resistance. However, it failed to break through this kind of minor level of support resistance at 1785. It found support, and gold does look like it's getting ready for a break to the upside. So if gold can break through this, then I can see a lot more upside for gold. I'm looking at 1845 for targets. Bringing our support here, will we turn resistance, supply as well, that we haven't come back for the retest of. So if gold can break through this kind of major level of resistance at 1810, then I do think gold will see a lot of upside coming into the following days and following weeks for gold. So looking for a break and retest of that high. Again, important that we do get that break, because if we don't, price could actually roll back over into 1785, and potentially if you want to, you can be looking at some sells into that level there. I personally wouldn't. I'm mainly focused on the buys now for gold if we can get above that level. If not, then yeah, you can look to sell it back down into 1785, but I'll be focused on the break and retest setup there, back up into that level there. So gold for me, looking for buys on the break and retest of 1810, and looking to target 1845 up there. And last but not least, we've got Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, we did see a bit of a push to the upside this week. I did say to you guys that if we can break past this trend line here, because we were squeezing last week between this trend line here and that support, I said depending on which way we break towards, if you did break to the downside, I'll be looking for price to come back into this wick. If we do break to the upside, I'm looking at price coming firstly into these highs here, which we just about did, and then potentially these support here, which we never got the retest of, which I still think we can come and retest. So gold for me, I'm seeing a move to the upside now. We do have really nice resistance here again there as well. Price is just tapped into, so if you can hold on to this area, I do think firstly a push back up into 52k, which is that level of resistance, but I think we can go and reach 53,500, which is that support which we never got the retest of, now turn resistance. So for me, looking at gold moving looking at Bitcoin moving higher back up into this resistance here, but I do think we can push it into 53,500. If we do snap back below this, then there is a chance that I'll probably roll over back to this support. So if that's the case, you can look for a break and retest of this level again, and just look for price to roll over back into that support. This could just be a false move, and price could actually roll over a lot further. But if we do hold into that level, I think gold will just continue with this bullish structure and see that move continue. So overall, I'm focused on the buys for Bitcoin. I do think price will move higher if we can hold this level at 49,500 back up to 53,500. But if we do break through, then I do expect to see that range filled back into the lows of this support at 46,500.
Okay, so guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed that and found that useful. Like always, guys, any questions, agree or disagree with my analysis, let me know in the comments down below and I will get back to you. If you are enjoying the content, subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video, it does help the channel out, and also hit the bell so you don't miss out on any uploads. But guys, I did hope you enjoyed the video and I'll catch you all in the next one.